Yeah. Let's
Let's
see.
go.
Go live. Go live. I'm not
Live.
sure. I think we're going live, but I'm
Just
getting
gave us
these
live.
error messages.
It's telling me it's live.
Yeah. I don't know if it's streaming though to LinkedIn, but that's fine. We're gonna roll. Welcome everyone to another installment of Klooby Snacks. It's Sunday night. We're feeling all right. We're always hanging out casually. I'm coming from the home office every Sunday night, but we're going through this all year long. We've got 52 bite-sized and delicious motivational quotes that I've originally authored, and then I partnered with my daughter Abby, who's going to college later on this year. And she ended up writing journal-style responses to all of them, and it's been this amazing project. So we are here. Welcome to Klooby Snacks. How you doing, Abby? Happy Sunday.
I'm doing good. I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
But
What was the most exhausting thing this week that you're proud of being through or past?
ooh. I had a really big AP Gov project, a big group project. There's so many pieces that went into it. We got that done. Well,
Can you hear the dogs barking? Yeah.
I hear them on my end and on your end. It's great. But what's it called? So I got my AP Gov project done, which feels good. And I'm back in rehearsal. We didn't have rehearsal last week, so I had rehearsal yesterday.
You got the part that you're looking for, Ursula in Little
Ursula,
Mermaid, right?
yes. Yeah, so back in rehearsal, that was good. Getting my body moving again and doing all the dances. So I'm very sore, which is really sad, but
Well, you're going to get to do a lot of walking when you get to New York later on in August. And so let me go ahead and set the table for everybody because we're streaming. And what we're doing every Sunday night, this is week number 11, is we're reading one of the 52. So we've got a year's worth. These books that I've been doing for a couple of years now, they're made for social media. 52 tips, get a clue in 52, whether it's the entrepreneur edition or the coaches edition or the speakers edition. Now it's like, oh my God, I can't believe my daughter's going away to college edition. We call it Klooby Snacks. So there's homage to my wife, who's her homemade cookies are the original Klooby Snacks, and then my motivational quotes caught up. And one of the fun things is when Abigail and I were working on this project is it came upon us. Normally I'd be organizing these tips across 5 categories, but this time it just landed right in our laps to do baker's dozens. 13 times 4 is 52. So where we are at right now is we are in the first baker's dozen, the loving flavored section. I'm going to go ahead and review these. Yeah, Abby, and then it'll get us to tonight. So the very first Klooby snack of all was when you really need to keep it all together. Love is the best adhesive. And then in week number 2, I will always love you more than I will ever miss you. Then week number 3, of course, Abigail had journal style responses to all of these. We're not going to review all of that. We just want to get to snack number 11, which is tonight. Number 3, if it were up to me, it would be called profrontation. Number 4, I would rather fail in my commitment to loving than succeed in my commitment to suffering. All right. All of these should be a little thought-provoking, but we can offer them with a jovial spirit on a Sunday night. It takes as much confidence to be led as it does to lead. It was number 5 in the loving flavored section. Number 6, when possible, replace statements with questions when possible. Sometimes emotions get the best of us and we want to tell somebody else how it is, but it's always more effective if we ask them to tell us how it is. All right. Number 7, being real is about being truthful to what is known. Being vulnerable, however, is the courage to learn more about what is true. I know that this is one of these snacks. There's handfuls of them throughout the book where what I originally authored it, once Abigail got a hold of them, they morphed a little bit, and Abigail's input and her phraseology and her wordsmithing put a nice finishing touch on a lot of these snacks. Number 8, everybody is important if we take the time to know their importance. I love that one. Number 9, this is one of my favorites, one of the OGs, one of the original Klooby Snacks, right? This was decades old. How you're saying what you're saying is what you're really saying. That is all about the nonverbal communication. And number 10, last week, observers will always make their own meanings unless we're proactive about the meanings we want made. And if it was up to me, there'd be a ... here. Like, and sometimes they make their own meanings even when we're proactive about the meanings we want made. Communication's receiver based. We don't have 100% control over the meanings that get made. We got to do the best we can. We got to surrender and be open to the feedback and make the adjustments, right? So that brings us to where we're at tonight. Abby, do you have anything that you want to say or add before we read tonight's Klooby Snack and your response to it?
no.
All right, looks like it's just me and you tonight.
Yep.
We never know if people are going to join us or not, and it's cool whether they do, whether they don't. It's cool either way. Sometimes I want you all to myself, but happy to share you with the world as well. That's the whole part of this. Like, watch out, world. Abigail's coming. That's like a big part of like the whole thing. Like, we've had the benefit of living with you and watching you grow and seeing your genius like all these years, but the world in New York City and Fordham is about to experience Abigail. So watch out, world. All right, you ready to go? Klooby Snack number 11 then is, let me put it up on the board. All right, if we can question our way to better relations, we can listen our way to success. Abby, take it away.
I've been a staff writer for my school's newspaper since my freshman year. Throughout these 4 years, I've discovered my passion for journalism and what it means to be a journalist. Curiosity is what drives journalism. Journalists follow their curiosity and ask questions. Those questions are what causes us to discover stories, develop angles, and inspire writing. Despite all of that, questions only get you so far. The power of curiosity is no stronger than the power of listening. I personally struggle with listening because for me to be truly listening, I can't be talking, and I love talking. From a journalistic standpoint, listening is key to finding stories and satisfying your curiosity. If I'm interviewing someone but failing to listen to the responses to my questions, I'll have less of a story to write. Journalists must be as curious as they are willing to listen. The balance of questioning and listening comes to play in many scenarios, one of which is my relationship with my father. When someone's expressing how they feel, they want to be seen and felt heard. If I interrupt my dad trying to argue with or correct what he's saying, then I'm getting myself nowhere. When I stay silent, though it's very rare, my silence is in turn making my dad feel loved. Curiosity is a strong tool, but so is the power of silence.
All right. Wow. Yeah, it's like kind of, tiptoeing in there. I was thinking as you were reading this one that I forget that some of these are going to be heavy, right? In terms of what you share, your perspectives, or how your perspectives are going to impact me. Some of these are light and fun as we float in the jovial nature of Sunday night, Klooby Snacks. It's all so tongue in cheek, but we know that there's some depth. And I was like, oh my God, I'm like, is this one of these ones that's going to hit me out of nowhere and start to make me cry? Right. And there's splashes of maturity and growth in there that we saw. But let me ask you, as I always do, you wrote this now, like we're in mid-March. You wrote this almost like half a year ago.
Yeah.
So, that's a big percentage of your life. It's less of a percentage of mine. Half a year is like, 1/106th of my life. Whereas, you know what I'm saying? It's like 1/34 of yours.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that interesting? That's a communication guy coming up with that math. Anyway, my point is 6 months is a big deal for you. So what's different for now? What's different for you now? Or how might you have responded differently? Or do you see it any differently? Or do you have more to say about how you responded?
Yeah. I agree. I stand by that. And I think that if anything, the only thing that's changed since then is my ability to actually apply that concept of listening. A lot of the times I feel like if I'm speaking the most in a conversation, then that means I'm the most engaged in a conversation. And a lot of times, the amount that you're speaking or talking or you guiding the conversation does mean that sometimes it does equate to involvement, but I think that in this year, in my most recent years, and it all started with journalism and with the newspaper, I've learned to listen and to really listen, which starts with journalism and how I can go into an interview with my planned questions, but if I just go in an interview and I ask only the questions that I had pre-written and planned, I'm not going to have a story. I need to listen and then build off of that and find anecdotes and learn through what I'm hearing rather than through what I'm asking, which I've learned a lot more. So I don't think that my perspective has changed since I've written it. I think that if anything, I've learned to or tried harder to actually apply that, which is very difficult for me. I'm a big talker.
Yeah, it's always interesting for me to see, how it changes, the morph, right? Because some of these, like I said, some of these Klooby Snacks I came up with years and years ago. And this one, I've been teaching listening in the public speaking classroom for, since 1997, right? With a 6-year break, of course. And I have I could come up with more Klooby Snacks. Like listening is the undervalued of all communication skills. It's like, if I'm really getting silly, like, oh, listening is like the bastard stepchild of all communication skills. Like people, or on a more serious level, in the beginning of the semester, when I asked the students, I asked 4 questions at the beginning of the semester to get the students like busy, but like, will I take role and settle in and deal with get my bearings in the classroom and the administrative. I gotta pull up the roster and take. So like, I throw these 4 questions on the board, but it's all part of setting the tone for the course. And one of the 4 questions is, what is communication? What do you think communication is? And I, have them jot their answers down. And by the end of that first class meeting, I'm having them crumple up all of their answers in a ball and throw them at me. Right. And never mind the tangent to that story. But the point is that when I would open them back up and have them read their responses randomly, because they would never get their own, and don't put your name on it, and let's throw the balls back out when people introduce themselves and they're uncrinkling paper. And, well, what does somebody else have to say about what is communication? So I'd always use that time to let the class know that a lot of people feel, first of all, the same about communication. So nobody's alone. Everybody's the same. But number 2, the thing that comes out of it, it brings us back to tonight's point, is that people say, oh, getting your point across. Communication is sending your message, or getting your thoughts across, or, delivering a message. Or most people, right, entering a entry-level college communication course, see communication autobiographically, see it starting from them and going out into the world. And very few responses talk about the give and take, the sending and receiving. People don't see communication as paying very close attention to what we're hearing and having compassion and critical thinking in the decoding for what we're hearing. Right. People just like, getting my point across. I need to do a better job getting my point across. So this Klooby Snack is really, listen your way to success. Like, I've been waving a flag for listening, and sometimes I'm like you. I like to talk a lot. Right. Yeah. But when I'm making money, right, it's usually because I'm listening. I make more money listening than speaking, and I'm a speaker, right? I write books, I speak, right? But when I make money, I'm coaching. It's when I'm listening to what I need to hear in order to, find out what's going on and help people solve their problems. So, and it's interesting too. This one morphed a little bit, Abby, when we were talking about it, because I think it was like, just listen your way to success, or, question your way. If we ask better questions, we'll have better stuff to listen to. Like that. I love asking good questions, because the better questions I ask, the better stuff I get to listen to. But it morphed into, let me ask you about this part, the relations. I think you wanted to put relations in there. This is in the loving flavored section. So talk about your relationships, whether it's your friends or, cuddling interests, or I don't know, how you refer to dating interests, or boyfriends or girlfriends or whatever, but relations, or even like with parents, or with teachers, or right. Girl Scouts, you were talking about Girl Scouts is morphing and different now than it used to be. So talk more about your application of this for relationships.
I think that a lot of it with friendships and with with my relationships, a lot of times what I've noticed is sometimes when people, even myself included, have something to say, or something's bothering them, they're bringing something up, they're not necessarily looking for a conversation or sometimes even an explanation. It's more just they want you to acknowledge that you're hearing them. Like, people want to be heard. And I've noticed that with you too. Sometimes, like, you'll talk to me and you don't want you. I won't speak for you, but like, you're not looking for my whatever my reason why is, or my excuse, or this or that. It's like, you want me to hear what you're saying, and you want to walk away from that conversation knowing that I heard what you said and I listened, and then hoping that from there something will change. But I think that with me personally, I've always, anytime anybody brings something up, I always see it as an argument, or it's some sort of, in the past. And I've always used that as an opportunity to either make excuses or whatever, which is, I realize, like, not what a lot of people need or want. It's more about being heard and actually being listened to, rather than getting these random, very untrue reasons why, or excuses, or but this, or justifications, or whatever. They just want to be heard. And like the power, like being heard, how like validating that is, and how powerful just being heard is, and like somebody sitting there and actually listening to you, without trying to refute what you're saying. which I've noticed a lot in my relationships with my friends or with my boyfriend or with you, or mom or anybody, like just listening.
Yeah, rather than and so what's interesting is you're touching on something that is what we taught, right? What we teach. Like when I go, it's funny. I have this up because I'm doing Sunday night office hours after this, but I go back to my syllabus. This is the syllabus for the course that I teach, and there's barriers to listening. There are forms of non-listening, right? And to the degree to which we could become I'm not finding it as quickly as I want to, but I've been teaching this for years, and it's hard, to try to like sometimes teach somebody a lesson, or you want the best for them, but it just triggers ego defense, right? So here we are in this listening conversation, and without going into details, like listening ing, so it's an active rather than a passive process, and there's reasons to listen, but there's barriers to listening, and there's forms of non-listening, and then of course we have some suggestions on how to be proactive and critical in our listening. So to be like if you squeezed my arm, this would come out my ears, right? It's right. And to see you step into it just experientially, it's been a challenge for me sometimes, knowing what I know, what I do in the classroom, what I do with my clients, and just wanting to like press a button and transfer this knowledge to my family, right? But you can't coach your family, right? I don't have that permission structure, or there's too much other context, etc. So this Klooby Snack has been a really healthy project. It takes the ego defense out of it. You know what I'm saying? And like we hear each other better because our guard isn't up, or we're not responding from a reaction to a situation or a trigger. It's constructive, loving, warm thoughts about each other. So it's really cool, really cool. So I mean, with just you and I on the line tonight, and nobody else to facilitate or include in the conversation, we could get to last call earlier than we might any other night. So do you have any other? I don't think I have anything else I want to say about this snack.
I don't have anything about this snack, but I just have two things I would like to share.
Yeah, let's do it.
I have two very random things that I just feel like sharing. They're making me happy. One, I don't know if you know this, Dad, but I went to Target today and I got the Crayola Epic Book of Awesome, and it's a bunch of coloring pages.
Okay, awesome. I didn't know that. Now I know.
And I got 120 crayons to celebrate me getting into SLO.
Hey. Yep. Well, let me ask you about that, because you just said I got into SLO, as it says here on the screen, Rising Freshman, Fordham University. So what's going on for you emotionally as you are embarrassed with the riches of acceptance to universities across this great land of ours?
From the very beginning, like Fordham, my heart was set on Fordham. It was Fordham or nothing. But I still obviously applied to other schools, as one does. And I was always, since my freshman year, I knew I was not going to apply to any UCs because, one, I don't fit the UC requirements. It's like crazy. The UC system is just crazy. And California schools in general, like I was like, I'm not even going to apply because I would never get in. But then when I was applying for colleges, my college counselor was like, you should apply for at least like 2 California schools. Like, let's just find 2. And I was like, whatever. And I was like, I'll just apply for SLO. Like, I'm not going to get in, but I'll apply just because I should. More schools to apply to. And I was like, I'm not going to get in. And then when the decisions came out, they came out like Friday, sometime during the day. And I didn't check until Friday at like 10 p.m. because I was like, I'm not getting in. Like, I knew before whatever. I was like, this is just like I'm just applying for whatever. But then I got in and I was like, what? And it's not like me being like, what? Like, should I go here? Whatever. It has nothing to do with that. Like, my mind is never changing. No offer could steer me away from Fordham. Like, that New York is my home. But it's rewarding because for the past like 4 years, I've been like, anytime, especially with my school, everybody since like you're 13, everybody's talking about where you're going to apply to college. And everybody's always talking about the UCs, like the UCs and what California schools you're going to apply to. And I was like, I'm not. My transcript is not meeting those requirements at all. So it's just rewarding for present me, and then also my younger self who was struggling in math and Spanish and was like, I'm never going to go to college. It's just nice. It's nice. And it was very surprising, and I'm very proud of myself, but I'm not tempted at all. at all.
Sometimes the greatest thing about achieving something isn't the thing that you've achieved.
No.
It's knowing yourself to be somebody who can achieve things that are scary or make you stretch, or you have reasons to doubt, but doubt is the enemy of achievement. You follow? So I'm not proud of the fact that I used to smoke cigarettes, but I proudly say that when I quit smoking cigarettes, the greatest thing about that wasn't that I didn't smoke anymore, even though that's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
The greatest thing is, like, I knew myself to be somebody that can beat addiction. I knew myself as to be somebody who has great discipline, who has great willpower, who has enough why, enough reasons to, and so that's been fruitful ever since. Yeah. So,
because a lot of when I was talking to my friends about getting into slow, they were like, well, what are you gonna do? And I'm like, what do you mean? What am I gonna do? Like, I'm going to Florida. I'm like, whatever. But it's just rewarding, especially since like my sophomore year when I was struggling with math, I had a teacher ask me if I thought I was gonna get into colleges.
Mm-hmm.
And like that me in that moment would have been like crying right now if I told her.
Wait, this is in high school, in 10th grade? So you could go visit that high school teacher with your letters and say, how you like me now, babe? No names. But sometimes it's good to have a little chip on your shoulder. Like, this is another Klooby Snackable. Are you ready? Check this out. I want to like again, putting that on the board. That feeling is, it's not that you got into slow. It's that yourself as somebody to be, right? Yeah. And then I'll tell you what though. We hear a lot about the haters, and there's these sayings that they're like, oh, you're not successful until you have your first hater. And you're like, oh, there go the haters. And, the haters get so much attention, right? And like, oh, everybody's hating, that puts a chip on my shoulder. And like, now I want to prove them wrong, prove the haters wrong. Whatever, right? I mean, okay, I can acknowledge that, but here's what I think is Klooby Snackable. Why spend a second of my life proving the haters wrong when I can prove the believers right? Yeah. So look for the people that believe in you. Look for the people that know you can do it, and trust them and believe in them. And right?
Yeah, and I had my journalism teacher, because I was talking to him. I was like, I don't know what California schools to apply to, and he's like, why don't you apply for slow? And I was like, why would I apply to slow? And he's like, I think you have a chance. And I was like, I don't think so at all. And we went back and forth, and he's like, Abby, like, I really do think you do. It's not like whatever. And I was like, no, like the acceptance rate, it's like 30, I think, which isn't even crazy, but just like with the amount of people that apply, all this stuff, I was like, I just whatever. So I'm excited to tell him on Monday that I got in, even though I'm not. Once again, I need to reiterate, like, for them, I'm like set on you. Don't worry.
But... Yeah, well, and remember, like, back to questions, right? Like, hey, I wanted to let you know that I got in. I want to thank you for believing in me. How did you know that I was going to get in? And then just stop.
Yeah.
And let him talk about you and tell you what again, listen your way to success, and thank him for believing in you, and then ask him how he knew. And you're going to be golden. So, all right. Really cool. I didn't even have to put it up, but like, hang on. Did you get both things out that you wanted?
Yeah, that was the two things. But I'm more excited for this. I'm sorry. This looks like a blast.
Yeah. Better,
120 grams.
Better you than me. Me. Congrats. Hey, whatever gets you through the night, it's all right. All right. So last call. Anything else that you want to share or express before we dismiss? We've been doing Klooby Snacks, bite-sized and delicious motivation. Tonight was Klooby Snack number 11. If we can question our way to better relations, we can listen our way to success. 2 more Klooby Snacks in the loving flavored section before we move on to what's next. Ego flavored after loving flavored? Yeah. Ego flavored. So that's going to be, I mean, how fun is this? This is just super fun. All right, Abby, thank you for being my co-author in crime. And congratulations in advance for everything that's in front of you. And we hope you out there, if you're watching a recording or if you tuned in for any portions tonight live, we hope that you're getting a little something warm and bite-sized and delicious out of Sunday night Klooby Snacks. All right, we'll see everybody next week with Klooby Snack number 12. All right, bye, everyone.
Bye.